court said in a 7-2 decision that in the first 3 months of pregnancy, only the woman and her physician may decide whether she may have an abortion. In the second 3 months, all the state may do is regulate abortion procedures. And only in the final 3 months of pregnancy can the state forbid abortion. The court ruled in cases from Texas and Georgia, but all 50 states are effective, whatever their laws.
The 1960s, also known as the women's rights era, played into effect with how Roe v. Wade affected women's rights and the rights of the unborn. Two lawyers named Sarah Weddington and Linda Coffey, and a woman named Norma McCorvey, who went by the anonymous name Jane Roe, decided to challenge the Texas law against legal abortions. It would give women the right to have the legal abortion in their own states. Justice Harry A. Blackmun, who wrote the opinion for the court case, said on January 22, 1973, "The states are not free under the guise of protecting maternal health or potential life to intimidate women into continuing pregnancies."
I think the justices believed that the women's rights movement was so clearly the wave of the future that was just about to happen that everybody's for abortion because everybody's for women's rights.
It was just a period of a whole lot of change in the United States, so that sort of political energy and movement was huge in enacting a lot of different laws and a lot of different legislation.
Before Roe v. Wade, women would seek out to have illegal abortions with unlicensed practitioners that would often result in an infection or even some cases death. This is Dorothy's story. Her doctor refused to let her have a legal, safe abortion, so she had to get an illegal one. She was blindfolded and never saw the face of her abortionist. One night she was rushed to the emergency room with a 105-degree fever and blood poisoning. She says, "Because I had good medical care, I survived." In the 1960s, when women started to pursue a career, they accounted for 6% of American doctors, 3% of lawyers, and 1% of engineers. Also, if women did try to pursue a career, they would be paid lower salaries than the men that were working in that field because employers thought that they would eventually become pregnant and quit their jobs. As one medical school dean declared, "We have a quota. We do keep women out when we can. We don't want them here, and they don't want them elsewhere either, whether they'll admit it or not."
I don't know how you treat your women in Cuba, but this is the United States, and I have my rights.
I am not arguing about women's rights. I am the first one to agree that women should have all the rights they want, as long as they stay in their place.
Oh, you're just as bad as he is, Fred. You men tell us that we have equal rights, but you certainly don't give us a chance to act like it.
Meet Sarah Weddington, one of the two lawyers on the case. In 1967, Miss Weddington was in law school. There she became pregnant. Both her and her boyfriend at the time did not want the child, so they decided to have an illegal abortion. They did some research and found a clinic in Mexico. There she had an illegal abortion. From that moment on, she sought out to make abortion legal so that no woman would have to get an illegal abortion ever again. All she needs now is to find another lawyer and a woman they can plant the case on. In 1969, Miss Weddington had found another lawyer to help her on her case. Her name was Linda Coffey. Both Miss Weddington and Miss Coffey decided to meet Norma McCorvey at a Dallas coffee shop. Norma McCorvey later became Jane Roe. On March 3, 1970, a lawsuit was filed by Linda Coffey on Jane Roe's behalf at a federal district court. Henry Wade was the defendant on this case. On March 22, 1970, Roe v. Wade went on trial in front of 3 federal judges at the Fifth Circuit Court. But what was Miss Coffey and Miss Weddington fighting for?
There was an assumption that if you had a baby, if you were a mother, you were no longer entitled to pursue a career. Abortion rights meant symbolically that women did have choices. Women could say, not now, later, or not at all.
They were fighting for women to have more choices in life. On December 13, 1971, the Supreme Court heard the Roe v. Wade case. Then, on September 5, 1972, the Supreme Court decided to re-argue Roe v. Wade. Then finally, on January 22, 1973, the Supreme Court ruled that the abortion laws in Texas and Georgia were unconstitutional. But there is one very important right that has created a huge controversy on the bill, the right of the unborn. The Catholic Church says that the unborn child or fetus is a living human being, therefore has its rights in the Constitution, and that abortion is a sin. The 14th Amendment states, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." The Catholic Church says that since the fetus is a human being, it is unconstitutional to have an abortion because it would be killing a human being.
Yeah, I think it first affected women because it was designed to give them more options, but in point of fact, it's made them have less options because now when women are in those situations where they feel, I have an unplanned pregnancy, I don't know what to do, they feel like my only answer is abortion, my only answer is to kill this child, and they don't feel supported, they don't feel like they have help, there aren't any answers. And so women who are in trouble feel very, very alone. And because of Roe versus Wade, we have so many women who are just suffering from that loneliness and don't know what to do. And the unborn child's affected because now a third of our generation has been killed and lost as a result of this vote. And we need to protect the defenseless, we need to protect the women who are in those vulnerable positions and give them real options and real choices so that they can feel secure and loved and as if someone's there to help them, not simply tell them, kill your child, get rid of it, fix the problem.
Norma McCorvey, the woman who in a way started this case, switched sides in 1995. She stated that her introduction to God taught her that abortion was wrong.
So 41 years ago, the Supreme Court set down this decision, but we've seen that there's been so much unrest. The Supreme Court decision disenfranchised an entire class of people, which is the unborn child. And we're seeing, the unrest in the hearts and minds of American people over these last 41 years. The pro-life movement has really grown, and we're trying to restore the rights of the unborn. Without the right to life, no other rights matter after that. Unless you have the right to life, it's not even worth talking about any other types of rights, like right to privacy or right to your right to freedom of speech. None of these rights matter unless you can live. So what we're here today at the march, we're standing up for the right to life of the unborn, and through legislation, we're hoping to see children protected. So right now, there's a big push to protect babies after 20 weeks gestation, which is more than halfway through pregnancy, and when we see that the child can feel pain, and that would protect 18,000 people from abortion, and so give them their right to life, basically. Well, I sort of reject the premise that there's like an either-or situation here. You know what I mean? Like, I reject that entire premise. We cannot pit women against their children. There are two people at stake at every abortion, and we have to protect them both, love them both. So I would say that there's not a discrepancy there.
And even 41 years after abortion was legalized, it is still a two-sided story. Some, like Anita L. Allen, say that abortion rights meant that women could say not now, later, or not at all to having a child. Others, like Mallory Quigley, say that without the right to life, no other rights matter because you cannot live. So whose rights matter more? Women's rights or the right of the unborn?